It finally happened. Trey Lance traded from the San Francisco 49ers to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick in next year's 2024 draft. And I'm glad it's over. Nothing against Trey Lance. I've had my fill, and I am exhausted from all this quarterback talk. I bet you are too. But we know where everyone stands. Brock Purdy's a starter. Sam Darnold was announced to be the number 2 quarterback. When that happened, Trey Lance did not show up to practice. And today we received the news in the afternoon that he'd been traded to the Dallas Cowboys. And that says a lot. That really speaks volumes. Shanahan said, well, we want him here. And Lynch said, well, we don't expect to trade him. Just shows, what can you believe from these guys? What can you expect? But I think it was very telling that he was traded within the conference from 49ers to their rival, the Cowboys, or at least their historical rival. And to me, that tells you that the 49ers really don't view him as a future threat. And if we can be really honest about this, we're talking so much about Trey Lance, and hey, I'm doing my part in adding to the discussion that we're talking about really a player of very little consequence, really an inconsequential player. He is a 3rd quarterback, and he was going to be a 3rd quarterback if he stayed with the 49ers. And then he goes to the Cowboys. He's not a 2nd quarterback there. Cooper Rush is the 2nd quarterback. He played quite well in the absence or the injured Dak Prescott last year. So he's clearly the number 2. I think it's just a change of scenery for Trey Lance may help, but he's not going to play unless Cowboys are down to their 3rd quarterback. And all the 49ers got in return was a 4th-round pick. That's all. And we were wondering if they were even going to get that. And that was probably the best deal they were going to get for Trey Lance. And this goes down as one of the worst trades I can remember in sports history. Really, when you think about you invested 3 first-round picks in this player, and as Greg Papa said on the opening of tonight's broadcast for preseason game 3 against the Chargers, he only started 4 games. And this was the wrong decision because of project quarterback. Taking someone who is so raw when you're ready to win a Super Bowl. At the time when they made the trade, I liked it because you knew you had to upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, you can blame Lance, you might blame Shanahan, but he couldn't stay healthy himself, and one of the big motivations of bringing in Lance was, well, we need someone who can stay on the field. Well, he wasn't able to stay on the field, just like Garoppolo was not able to stay on the field. And this is one I'm going to throw out too. James Wiseman, Trey Lance. Who was the worst pick? Which pick was worse? I would have to go with Lance because the Warriors were able to overcome it and still win a finals. Even with an injured James Wiseman, they turn around and trade him because of the same thing. He didn't quite fit, and this was a team that was ready to win now. Someone who had a lot of upside, someone who seemed to have a high ceiling, someone who may be good down the line. But he was the wrong pick at the wrong time. And Trey Lance was the wrong pick at the wrong time. I guess as a 49ers fan, you have to at least say, well, thankfully we got a little something, but wow. What a terrible pick that was for the 49ers for Shanahan. And I know Damon Bruce brought up a good point that although that was, you could say, the worst draft pick in 49ers history. I don't remember if he said that or not, but I'm saying it. If Brock Purdy remains a starter, and he is the franchise quarterback going forward, that goes down as the best pick and about as brilliant of a pick as you could have for Shanahan and Lynch being the very last pick in the draft. You get your quarterback in Brock Purdy. And what can you compare that to? The third pick in the draft in 2021, and in 2022, the last pick in the draft, he ends up being the starter. He wins the job. He's the guy. And with Purdy, he already won 2 playoff games. You can say whatever you want. We'll see how he does from here on out. You still wonder if he can stay healthy. But he's already won 2 playoff games. Is he surrounded by one of the best rosters in the NFL? Absolutely. But he's already won playoff games, and he has not lost a game if you're not counting the championship game where he was injured. Hasn't lost a game as a starter where he was able to complete the game. How about from the Cowboys' perspective? And I think this is so interesting that you have a trade in the conference and between teams that played each other in the last 2 seasons. I just find it a very bizarre decision by the Cowboys that they're willing to give up a pick as they did, and then I just don't see Lance getting on the field because it's not like he's one of those super athletic quarterbacks that you can have a package for. You really can't. Is he a above average athletic quarterback? Yes, but he's not really a runner. He isn't. We've seen that. See some insurance down the road? Do they feel like they could develop him? Maybe that's what they think. But this is one that we'll keep talking about. And I will listen to the different radio shows. That's all I really picked up on when this came down, just driving around, that I listened to Tolbert on KMBR, and Ray Ratto was actually filling in. There's no one like Ray. There's only one Ray Ratto. And then on the game, they had Willard and Dibbs, and then they had Kruger. I'm a huge Kruger fan, and shame on you, KMBR. And I'm sitting there laughing, saying, you know what's really funny? Tom Tolbert is the only one of the 5 that I'm listening to that is still with his original station, that didn't go off to the other station, because of course Ray was with KMBR and worked with Tolbert, and then he went to the game, and now he's doing fill-in after being laid off by the game. He's doing fill-in back again at KMBR. And then with the game, you have Dibley. You want to talk about his career. KMBR, then the game, then he was fired or laid off, and then he's back with the game again. And then you have Willard, who went from KMBR to the game, and then Kruger, KMBR, and then he was fired, returned to KMBR, and now he's with the game as a fill-in host and as a NFL expert, 49er insider. And it was exciting to see Brock Purdy again be on the field. A lot of 49er starters. I'm not breaking down the preseason game, and now the story shifts from, Trey Lance to now we need to get Nick Bosa back for the 49ers. Nick Bosa needs to be signed. We need that drama to end. And then we can start looking at the regular season matchups. But Purdy looked good. Mason looked good, other than that fumble in the end zone. And then, wow, do we need to get something straightened out with the place kicker situation? Man, I would call Robbie Gould at this point. Get Robbie Gould on the phone. So I say, get Nick Bosa signed to his extension and get Robbie Gould back in the building. Those are the priorities for the 49ers, and the Steelers are looking like an improved team. Certainly are. That's your week 1 matchup, and you be ready. 49ers have not got off to good starts. I've said it already several times. in some of these previews as we're looking ahead to week 1, and as we look at our options of what to watch tonight, we were saying, Giants Braves or 49ers preseason. We picked 49ers preseason, and then we went on the commercials back to the Giants, who, are having their offensive woes against a team that hits like the Atlanta Braves. Not a good recipe at all. Imagine what the 49ers could have done if they used those draft picks differently. Imagine if they just picked Mac Jones. I mean, it's going to be one of the great what-ifs. If they selected Mac Jones, they stayed with their original draft position, but instead they got Trey Lance, and I don't think Trey Lance is going to turn into anything. I don't. His best opportunity is probably going to yet another team after Dallas. Unless, again, they just are racked with injuries. But it was just a bad situation. It just did not make sense. I think Shanahan, of course, wanted a more athletic quarterback. He wanted a healthier, younger, stronger quarterback, but that just doesn't really go along with the quarterbacks he's had. He has his own guys, he has a system. Everyone knows he loves Kirk Cousins, and he liked the Jimmy Garoppolo type. I think Brock Purdy is a little different. No, he doesn't have the rocket cannon arm, he doesn't have all the impressive measurables, but he's a football player. He's a leader. He has the intangibles, and he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. So let's get ready for the season. We'll be doing a whole bunch of shows, previewing the season from 49ers perspective. We're going to look at the whole league. We'll make our picks. We'll preview and review games each week. That's the plan. And here is the thing. I think the 49ers are in a much better position with Sam Darnold as their backup because he has more experience. No, he hasn't done much winning, but you're just doing the eye test. He is more of a Shanahan-type quarterback. He has the best arm of any of the quarterbacks on the roster, if you were even including Trey Lance. Not a bad athlete. He's got good size. I think in the right situation, he can at least help the team compete if there's an injury to Trey Lance, if there's an injury to Brock Purdy. And, I think the offensive line is a concern for the 49ers, and they have not been able to keep the quarterbacks healthy. We know that. So that puts them in the best position, if anything happens to Brock Purdy, that you can still win games and you're not stuck with Josh Johnson again.